If you haven't been paying attention, the Dow Jones Industrial Average hit a milestone this past Friday, breaking 28,000.
A major milestone for the Dow, closing above 28,000 for the first time. New records, too, for the S&P and NASDAQ. Big-name stocks like United Technologies, Alphabet, Microsoft, all hitting record levels. So is this market just headed higher and higher?
This is the first time breaking a psychological milestone since mid-July. The Dow Jones closed up by just under 223 points, or 0.8%, hitting just about 28,005. This is the 11th record close of 2019 and the first 1,000-point milestone since July 11th. It's been 90 trading sessions since that last 1,000-point milestone, and it took 372 trading days for it to hit 27,000. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ have also set records, as White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow said that the US and China are close to making a trade agreement. It was announced not too long ago that there's a quote-unquote phase one that is close to being in agreement, and Trump is, quote, liking what he's seeing so far, but isn't ready to sign anything off yet. It's no secret that Trump's trade policies have been one of the largest catalysts for the market's volatility this year. And just to be clear, there's actually nothing necessarily significant about the Dow eclipsing a round number milestone. But experts agree that this can create bullish enthusiasm for investors. This is on top of data coming out that the American consumer is willing to spend. Consumer confidence is very high still. This is very good for the US economy, as about 2/3 of the GDP growth is accounted for by consumption. Americans have returned to the malls and stores in October, but still there's no clear data yet on what they will be doing in the fourth quarter of the year. This is all on top of the fact that US recession fears are kind of going away. The Federal Reserve lowered short-term interest rates, and now the inverted yield curve that we were talking about in my video where I showed you how to actually prepare for the next recession, it's gone. If you haven't seen that video yet where I showed you easy tactics to actually prepare for the next recession, it might be coming the next year after that, you can look at that video. Link will be in the description below and you can check that out. I go into specific tactics and strategies that you can use and implicate right now to actually prepare yourself for the next economic downturn. Now there is a positive slope yield curve and a sense of normality seems to have returned. If you remember, just weeks ago it was all the headlines that were saying recession is coming and sell everything. The popular beliefs were too low of inflation, falling consumer confidence, weak corporate results, and of course the trade war talk. Instead, earnings reports are good, stocks are rising, and consumer confidence is retracing from its mini drop it had. On top of that, the Federal Reserve said not to expect any more rate cuts because the conditions look fine. Stocks are acceptable again, but now there's record highs and investors are wondering whether they should jump in or wait. Now we should be watching for a few things. If corporate earnings are continuing to look good and the US and China trade negotiation talks are making progress, then the market could very well be making even more highs in the coming weeks. So far, corporate earnings are looking much better than expected. Of the 199 companies on the S&P 500 that have announced earnings so far, just over 78% of them have beaten estimates, while just about 15% of them have missed them. According to historical data, 65% of companies tend to beat estimates, while 20% miss expectations. And on top of that, 2019 is shaping up to be one of the best years ever for investing. Over 80% of stocks on the S&P 500 are up for the year, and 360 stocks are up over 10%. This is of course boosted by lower Federal Reserve rates and strong consumer spending. This could be the first time ever when stocks, bonds, gold, and crude return over 10% in the year. This is compared to last year when the stock market had one of the worst years since 2008. We saw several Federal Reserve rate hikes and continuous trade tension happening. But now with 3 rate cuts from the FOMC, experts are extremely bullish and are even looking at the S&P 500 at 3,250. Now Morgan Stanley analysts do see the US avoiding recession, but they do see a so-called earnings recession with consecutive decline in corporate earnings. Back in September of 2018, analysts were making ominous calls as stocks were recovering from their February corrections. At that time, the Dow and S&P 500 fell 10% from its late January peak. And in July of 2018, analysts were saying that there would be the largest correction in months as there were signs of exhaustion of the rally. Investors are worried if equity valuations are getting too rich, as corporate earnings are having a poor outlook and there hasn't been a resolution that has come to fruition yet with the US and China. So basically, long story short, as I mentioned in my video where I talked about the tactics to prepare for a recession, you just want a 6-year strategy and know that you're holding on for the long term. Large cap stocks are expected to perform better than small caps in this season of market optimism. But in conclusion, that is why the market is doing so good right now, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future, as now there's talks of Dow 30,000. Let's make some predictions. Put in the comments down below when you think Dow will hit 30,000. Do you think it will finish 30,000 by the end of 2019? or it won't be until 2020 that it hits 30,000. Let me know in the comments below. But if you enjoyed that video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, smash that like button, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post videos every single week on business, mindset, entrepreneurship, finance, investing, you name it. I do it on this channel. And if you'd like to be notified every time I upload a new one, be sure to hit that notification bell as well. Stay notified every time I upload a new video. See you in the next one.